Yahoo Finance. Bud Light boycotters decimating sales over Dylan Mulvaney promotion should think about employees, Anheuser-Busch CEO Bredan Whitworth says. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm the Anti-Woke Warrior. Now, I haven't said anything about the Bud Light situation, really. And the reason for that is because I don't drink. So, I don't support Bud Light, period. I don't support any of these companies. And I didn't really feel like it was my place to say, hey, look, you should buy this other alcohol instead of this alcohol, because I don't think you should buy any alcohol. But that's just me. I've tried Budweiser. It's gross. Ugh, people drink that stuff. Like, my brother doesn't even drink any of that stuff. He's an alcoholic. He drinks dark beer only. So anyway, before we jump into this, I want to thank everybody for stopping by and supporting my work. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed, because YouTube does unsubscribe people every single day. And you can find me over on Rumble and on Twitter. Let's see what this article has to say. Bredan Whitworth wants Bud Light boycotters to blame him for the fateful Dylan Mulvaney promotion and not punish the 65,000 people whose livelihoods depend on Anheuser-Busch. Really? You blame him, but keep buying Bud Light. So how would that work? That doesn't make any sense. If you're buying Bud Light, you're giving money to Bredan Whitworth. You're giving money to some of the people below him, and so on and so forth. We know how this works. He gets the biggest chunk of money. Speaking to CBS on Wednesday, the former U.S. Marine and CIA spy turned CEO of America's largest beer brewer said the buck stopped with him when it came to disastrous promotions with transgender influencer Mulvaney. Okay, well, why would you ever partner with somebody who is modern day, and I don't mean this as a pejorative, but a clown? This person is putting on a performance. They're putting on makeup, they're putting on a costume, and they're putting on a performance. Now, you might say, well, that's how Dylan truly feels. Is it really? Does Dylan truly feel how Dylan feels in this costume, in the clothes and the makeup? Or is that an exaggeration of what Dylan really feels? Or is that some sort of altering of what Dylan really feels? I don't know. I'm not Dylan, but that's what it seems like to me, that it's just a big performance. So one thing that I'd love to make extremely clear is that impact is my responsibility. As a CEO, everything we do, I'm accountable for, he said in the interview, which he reposted to LinkedIn, but not before disabling comments on the post, of course, because he doesn't want to hear the backlash. He doesn't want to hear the truth, the people telling him, look, you shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z, and this is what you should have done instead. And if you want to get out of this, this is what you need to do right now. Asked what troubled him the most, he said it was his 18,000 workers and the additional 47,000 people employed by its distributors. The number doesn't count the farmers, he said, were also affected by the boycott. It's the impact, honestly, on the employees that weighs the most on me, he continued, urging people to drink Bud Light during the upcoming July 4th weekend. These CEOs are so phony. I knew a former CEO of a big international food company. If I said the name of the food company, you would know you would know this food company. That's how big this company is. And he said, yeah, the job was totally worth getting paid $13 million a year or whatever, because he had sleepless nights and he had to fire people. There's plenty of people in the world who work under this individual or work under these CEOs that have sleepless nights and have to fire people. Okay? I've been fired, and I've never been fired by a CEO of a mega corporation. So don't even get this started with me. Well, Anheuser-Busch has sought to minimize the role Mulvaney played in its strategy. Whitworth reaffirmed the company would not change its stance towards its partnerships. Okay, that's kind of interesting. We're going to take a look at that. Bud Light has supported LGBTQ since 1998, so that's 25 years. And as we've said from the beginning, we'll continue to support the communities and organizations that we've supported for decades, he said. Well, it's one thing to support. It's one thing to be like, hey, I support your right to be whoever you want to be. It's another thing to force all this onto us and to force it down our throats and everything. Like, look, I've spoken out against this whole alphabet people thing a lot in the last year or whatever, right? Because I am the anti-woke warrior. But before that, I didn't really care that much. And as soon as you start cramming this down my throat, there's going to be a natural response. I'm not the only person who feels this way. So you start forcing it, I'm going to say, no, screw you. I get to think what I want to think. So part of it is that. People are just like, no, screw you, I get to think what I want to think. He may have sought to shield his staff from the fallout of the promotion, but he did not explicitly apologize for partnering with Mulvaney either. A number of consumers had claimed this official acknowledgement of a mistake was prerequisite for winning back their business. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you want to make up for something, you say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That's the first step. Analysis by Deutsche Bank suggested that while 21% of Bud Light consumers are buying more than 18% have scaled back their purchases. Oh, wow. So 21% are buying more, supposedly, according to what Deutsche Bank is saying. Roughly a quarter have stopped buying the beer altogether due to the promotion with the transgender social media figure. Whitworth and brand head Todd Allen are now hoping a new campaign will resurrect sales after demand dropped like a rock amid the controversy. As part of its investments for the brand are set to triple this year, including spending across sports, primetime, and cable television. Real man of genius. Bad idea. You're losing market share. You should probably scale back. And if you're worried so much, Mr. Whitworth, about your employees, why don't you take a pay cut? Why don't the CEOs take a pay cut? You know, it used to not be this way. It used to be that the CEOs, yeah, they made more, but it wasn't an outrageous sum more. You know, you got the people in the trenches doing the real work, barely making a living wage, and then you get up to these CEOs. And I've talked to libertarians and conservatives who are like, oh, this money isn't wasted. They're buying yachts and they're buying private jets and they're doing, and then like, yeah, and a lot of that money is going offshore to private bank accounts where it doesn't do anything, or it's being invested into the stock market where it doesn't do anything. So yeah, it's not a trickle. The trickle down is not much of a trickle. It's really a kind of a very light trickle. I want to take a look at this video here.
Hi. One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer, because I love beer and I always have. I built my platform on being honest with you, and what I'm about
on being honest with us while you're performing as a character. You're not being honest about your gender, let's put it that way, at the very least.
To tell you might sound like old news, but you know that feeling when you have something uncomfy like sitting on your chest? Well, that's how I feel right now, so this feels like the right thing to do. I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored video to my page. And it must have been a slow news week, because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major. But
you were on social media, which is bigger than any billboard and could potentially very well be bigger than television. And you are an inflammatory individual. You were inflaming tensions in this country before this Bud Light thing. So you have to expect this is going to get worse when you partner with the biggest beer company in the country, the most popular beer in the country. What did you think was going to happen?
No, it was just an Instagram video. And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere. And now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind bulletproof glass.
Yes, because that little piece of artwork is going to be so very valuable. I mean, it's going to be just amazingly valuable that we need to protect it once you find it.
And you might be thinking, Dylan, why bring it up now? I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And I should have made this video months ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash, and I felt personally guilty for what transpired. So I patiently waited for things to get better.
So more bullying and transphobia than you ever expected. Well, you have to understand that you were really not in the mainstream. Even though there were people speaking out against you before this happened, once you stepped into Bud Light territory, that's the mainstream. That's the biggest beer brand in the country, is Anheuser-Busch. There's an Anheuser-Busch plant here in LA, and that's a big deal. Once you step into that, then you're like, okay, I just put myself out there as brand ambassador for this. You're not, but I mean, that was how it was perceived. And now people are going to say something about it because they don't like this all over the place. People were fine with the, well, maybe not fine, but most people were fine with the trans people, the alphabet people, as long as, you know, hey, keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear about it. Yeah, you can have your little parade here and there, but now you're trying to move into the mainstream all over the place, and people are standing up and speaking out against it a lot because of this. They don't want to see it everywhere they go. They don't want it to be presented for their children because it is largely about bedroom stuff.
But surprise, they haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people.
No, most of the time we don't even know that you're trans. I mean, if you're actually doing the whole transition thing, oh, look, you can tell this is a man, but he's like dressed in drag. I've seen, up close and personal, I've seen transvestites. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know, right? If you didn't know this was a man, then you wouldn't know. I'm sorry that you've been, harassed or whatever. If that's indeed true, I don't know if it is. I suppose your information is public enough that people can find out where you live and then wait for you to leave your house or whatever and then follow you. I have way more important things to do with my time than follow around somebody that I find repulsive in some way.
For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. And the hate doesn't end with me. It has serious and grave consequences for the rest of our community. And
so, yeah, I mean, I as far as I can tell, Bud Light has not stood by Mulvaney. And it said in that article that they were standing by everything they have stood by for the last 25 years, right? And that's not true, because obviously we see here, we haven't seen anything regarding Mulvaney and Bud Light in cooperation with each other since the Instagram post. And I'm sorry, I don't know why the lip syncing is off on this. It's not lip sync, but I mean, the sound does not match with the video. I don't know why that's happening.
And we're customers too. I know a lot of trans and queer people who love beer, and I have some lesbian friends who could drink some of those haters under the table.
Yeah, okay, so that could be possible, yes. Like, I don't drink, so I'm sure that your lesbian friends could all drink me under the table. But the thing is, women do not handle alcohol as well as men do, so that's just the typical. So you want to sit here and maybe point out an exception and say, look how good lesbians are or something. That's such a weird statement to make. Whatever.
But to turn a blind eye and pretend everything is okay, it just isn't an option right now. And you might say, but Dylan, I don't want to get political. Babe, supporting trans people, it shouldn't be political. There should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us.
Who made it political? Who went to legislators and said, you have to enshrine our rights in law? We have to stop these, these anti-alphabet people laws. We need to have marriage. That needs to be a legal right for us. Everything came down to law with you people. And maybe that's the right thing to do, but that makes it political right there. Once you start getting into the legal ramifications of you living your life, and you want to say, oh, you're trying to erase us, that's making it political. Because you're expecting the entire country to stand up and say, okay, we need to, as a movement, all of us need to accept these people. And who is actually harming people who are alphabet people because they're alphabet people? Probably happens, but we see so much less of that. It's just like pointing at the KKK. Yeah, we know they're wrong. They do their little marches and their little events. There's hardly any members anymore. It's been pushed into the shadows. And it's the same way with the people who are harming people. Like, it used to be a big deal back in the 80s and stuff. Gay people used to get beat up badly, even killed sometimes. So, anyway.
And I know it's possible because I've worked with some fantastic companies who care. But caring about the LGBTQ plus community requires a lot more than just a donation somewhere during Pride Month. And all this to say, bottom line is that if you follow me, if I've made you smile, if you care about me, I need you to care about every trans person. And I need you to support us, and I need you to stand by us.
Really, every trans person, even those who are trying to groom children. It's like, we can't just stand by every person of a certain type, because there are bad people in every group.
And hey, it's still Pride Month. So I'm going to celebrate being alive. And I'm going to celebrate the trans people in my life and the ones I haven't met yet. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that no matter how many thousands of horrible messages or news anchors misgendering me or companies going silent, that I can look in the mirror and see the woman that I am and that I love being.
Do you still have a wing wang? Because if you do, you're not a woman. That's just how it works. Don't know what to tell you. And as far as the using the correct gender with this person. I have to use the wrong gender because of YouTube's rules. So,
And I know you were probably here for the tea of it all, but I would love for something productive to come from this. So there is a link in my bio to the Trans Law Center, who is doing some wonderful work if you have the means to donate. And to the good people out there, I love ya. I really do. And cheers, but only if you're of legal drinking age. Okay, I love you. Bye.
yeah, so there's that. Now, there's another article I want to take a look at. Bud Light fires back at Dylan Mulvaney after trans influencer claims they abandoned her during partnership backlash. Well, have you seen them do any more promos featuring Dylan? Anheuser-Busch fired back at Dylan Mulvaney this week after the transgender influencer accused Bud Light of abandoning her during their controversial partnership campaign. The embattled beer company responded to Mulvaney's allegations on Thursday night, just hours after the 26-year-old social media star posted a blistering video against Bud Light on Instagram. I think it was TikTok we were looking at there. According to the spokesperson for Anheuser-Busch, the beer company remains committed to partnerships they have forged with those of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, then why do you not have Mulvaney doing any more promo spots? The spokesperson also said that the safety of their partners remains the company's top priority, although Anheuser-Busch did not mention Mulvaney by name. Okay, well, Mulvaney just claimed that people were harassing in public, people following around, etc. Well, why don't they offer a security guard to Mulvaney then? They have the money, they could do it. We remain committed to the programs and partnerships we have forged over decades with organizations across a number of communities, including those of the alphabet community, the company's spokesperson told CBS News Thursday night. The privacy and safety of our employees and our partners is always our top priority. They continued, as we move forward, we will focus on what we do best, brewing great beer for everyone and earning our place in moments that matter to our consumers. Here's the video we just watched, right? I don't plan on watching it again. Anheuser-Busch was responding to a video posted by Mulvaney hours earlier. According to Mulvaney, Bud Light did not stand by her during the backlash both parties received for their controversial partnership. Now, maybe Mulvaney is lying. Maybe nobody has been harassing them. We don't know. We're not there. I don't have time to go around and mess with people that I don't like that I come across online. I don't even know where Mulvaney is located. Probably 1,000 miles away from me. Probably 2,000 miles away from me. Something a long ways away. I have a job. I have a YouTube channel. I have side projects that I work on. I have a wife. I have all these other things that are going on in my life. I'm going to take time out of my life to go up and say mean words to a person that I don't actually know. There are people who will do that, though. There are crazy people in the world. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, if you hire somebody and then you get backlash from other people and you don't stand by the person that you hired. Now, you could cut the cord when you're dating and a woman strings you along. Just cut the cord. Don't just end it. Don't string me along. Don't play these games. Just if they wanted to tell Mulvaney, look, we're sorry. We didn't realize we were going to get this backlash. We're cutting all ties with you. Hope everything works out for you. Let us know if you need anything. And they could offer private security if the person is getting that harassment based on this ad campaign. But otherwise, they don't owe Mulvaney anything, technically. And then a lot of the rest of this is just quotes from the video. Meanwhile, Anheuser-Busch CEO Bredan Whitworth refused to say whether he regretted partnering with Mulvaney during an interview with CBS on Wednesday morning. Whitworth also said that the beer company is working to reverse the $20 billion hit Anheuser-Busch suffered as a result of the partnership backlash, and that the ongoing controversies impact on the company's employees is what weighs most on him. Yeah, we already looked at that. Now, I think it's actually more like $28 billion that they've lost at this point. But that's a huge hit for this beer company. And you easily could have avoided this. You put people into these commercials and you just leave it ambiguous. Are they a couple or aren't they a couple? You don't need to know. Just have a couple of women sitting around chatting, drinking beer, watching TV or something. Have a couple of men sitting around chatting, drinking beer. We wouldn't know. You do all these sorts of things. But, what we got here with Anheuser-Busch, of course, is real man of genius. Get woke, go broke. And with that said, I'm going to leave you with a man who can climb really well.